Breaking news. On the tarmac, 3 bombers. 2 160 White Swans. Russian nuclear bombers valued at $280 million apiece, each loaded with 12 cruise missiles. They are now refueling after a combat mission, completely unprotected. For months, Ukrainian intelligence waited for this exact moment. The rotation window, when bombers return with empty fuel tanks, exhausted crews, and relaxed defenses. Stay until the end, because when a single strike destroys Russia's nuclear fleet in one night, the humiliation goes beyond tactics. It is about patience, accuracy, and courage coming together in an irreversible blow that shifts the balance of power. January 2026, 3 a.m., ENGELS Air Base, Russia. On the runway, 3 bombers, 2 160 White Swans, Russian nuclear bombers, aircraft costing nearly $300 million each. Every one carries 12 cruise missiles and is now refueling after a combat mission, completely exposed. For months, Ukrainian intelligence had been waiting for this precise moment. The rotation window, when bombers return, tanks drained, crews worn out, defenses lowered. 3:18 a.m. A Ukrainian drone screams in, flying at treetop level. It slams directly into a Park 2 160. The explosion tears through the fuselage. Then the pack arrives. 7 more drones target the remaining aircraft and the fuel infrastructure. 3:22 a.m. The most expensive parking lot in military history erupts in flames. In a single night, Ukraine has just shattered Russia's nuclear deterrence. To understand how devastating this is for the Kremlin, we first need to understand what was sitting on that runway. ENGELS Air Base, located 700 kilometers from the Ukrainian border, was supposed to be untouchable. It is a sanctuary for Russia's heavy bomber aviation regiment, the elite nuclear strike force, a top priority asset. The 2 160 NATO reporting name Blackjack. Russia has fewer than 20 in operational service. Unlike tanks or artillery that can be mass-produced, the 2 160 cannot simply be replaced. The Soviet production lines are long gone. Building a new one today takes Russia almost 3 years. These aircraft are the only platform capable of launching cruise missiles from inside safe airspace, hitting targets across Europe without ever entering a combat zone. But here is the fatal weakness Ukrainian planners exploited. The Tu-160's fuel system is a maintenance nightmare and requires specialized aviation fuel, a nitrogen-rich mixture designed for supersonic flight. This fuel must be heated in pressurized storage tanks located immediately next to the taxiways. Intelligence reports from January 2026 revealed that brutal winter conditions forced Russian ground crews to cluster 3 Tu-160s and 2 Tu-95 Bears near the central refueling hub, so they could be thawed and refueled at the same time. This violated safety protocols born from arrogance and the belief that Ukraine simply could not strike that far with precision. They created a target-rich environment by concentrating their most valuable nuclear assets around a volatile fuel depot. Russian commanders turned the airbase into a massive bomb waiting for a spark. The monetary value inside that 500-meter zone exceeded $5 billion. It was the most expensive parking lot in military history, and Ukraine had just found a match. The strategic calculation was ruthless. Destroy the fuel infrastructure and the bombers become useless. Even if the aircraft survive, without specialized refueling capability, they are grounded indefinitely. Ukraine was not just aiming at aircraft, it was targeting Russia's ability to operate strategic aviation from that base for months, possibly years. Now let's break down the surgical brilliance of this operation. How do you penetrate 700 kilometers through the densest air defense network in the world, guarded by 400 battalions, and point defense PSR systems. You don't use brute force. You use digital invisibility and strategic deception. 2 hours before the main strike, Ukraine launched modified commercial drones from border regions. These are not armed. They carried Lundberg lenses, simple metal reflectors that make a small drone appear like a massive bomber on radar screens. These decoys flew at high altitude, lighting up Russian radar across entire regions. Russian air defense operators panicked. They activated their systems, firing millions of dollars worth of interceptor missiles at cheap plastic drones. This achieved two critical goals. It drained the ready ammunition of S-400 batteries, and more importantly, it revealed the exact GPS coordinates of every active Russian radar station in that sector. Ukrainian electronic warfare units, monitoring from the border, mapped the entire air defense network in real time. But there was a third psychological effect. After shooting down 25 threats, Russian operators began to suffer alert fatigue. When you fire at ghosts for 2 hours, reaction time dulls, skepticism grows, just another false alarm. That cognitive exhaustion would prove fatal. With Russian air defenses distracted and looking upward, the Real killers entered the operational space. Ukraine deployed 8 hybrid rocket drones, somewhere between missiles and fast, low-profile drones powered by jet engines. These units crossed the border in staggered intervals, dropping to an altitude of just 15 meters. At that height, they become invisible to long-range radar, hiding in ground clutter created by trees, hills, and buildings. They did not fly in straight lines. Guided by inertial navigation systems and terrain reference navigation technology similar to American Tomahawk missiles, they descended through river valleys and followed natural terrain features, actively avoiding known air defense positions that had been mapped. The flight path was pre-programmed based on months of satellite imagery analysis and signals intelligence. The drones traveled in complete radio silence. No GPS signals, no communication with command, fully autonomous. This meant Russian electronic warfare systems had nothing to jam, nothing to intercept, nothing to triangulate. They were hunting ghosts that had already slipped through the defensive perimeter. As the drones approached angles, the choreography became lethal. The first drone, the Scout, did not go for the bombers. Its target was the fuel distribution station, the central hub where all refueling operations connected. 3:18 a.m. Impact. The Scout's warhead was a thermobaric charge designed for maximum overpressure. After detonation, it dispersed a cloud of aerosolized fuel before igniting it. The resulting vacuum explosion created a shockwave moving at supersonic speed. The fuel distribution system was ripped apart instantly. Thousands of gallons of aviation fuel flooded the runway. That was the signal. Russian Panzer systems, finally detecting the threat, began engaging, but they were 3 minutes too late. 3:20 a.m. The second and third drones converged on the fuel storage tanks from opposite vectors. A pincer movement designed to overwhelm point defenses. One Panzer system managed to intercept the second drone at an altitude of 400 meters. The explosion scattered debris across the taxiway, but the third drone adjusted its course in midair. Using the cloud of wreckage as cover, it slammed directly into storage tank number 3. The blast was catastrophic. The tank held more than 50,000 liters of pressurized aviation fuel. When the warhead pierced the fuel shell, it didn't just ignite, it vaporized it into a fireball that expanded outward. The thermal pulse reached the parked 2160S within seconds. 3:22 a.m. The remaining 5 drones executed simultaneous terminal dives. The strike was synchronized down to the microsecond. 2 targeted the maintenance hangars, where specialized avionics and engine components were stored. 1 hit the air traffic control tower, wiping out Russia's ability to coordinate a response. The final 2 struck a secondary fuel depot on the western perimeter, ensuring the fire would spread uncontrollably. Flames reached the park bombers. Aluminum loses structural integrity at 660 degrees. Fuel fires were burning at well over 1,000 degrees. The wings of the first 2160 didn't just burn. They melted into rivers of molten metal. Advanced avionics, radar systems, hydraulic controls, all of it cooked inside the fuselages. Then came the secondary detonations. The 295 bombers were loaded with cruise missiles for a scheduled morning strike. When the flames reached the weapons bays, the missile warheads detonated. A chain reaction followed. The resulting explosion was visible from space. Seismographs recorded it as a magnitude 2.1 earthquake. Local residents reported windows shattering 10 kilometers away. Russian firefighters arrived at 3:45, but they could not get close. For 4 hours, the fuel fire was too intense, too widespread, and water would only have made it worse. By dawn, the pride of Russia's strategic air force had been reduced to blackened skeletons and pools of melted alloy. The immediate image of burning bombers is striking, but the long-term strategic impact is where the real damage lies. This strike forced a checkmate scenario in the Kremlin with no good options left. ENGELS was the only base equipped with the heavy maintenance bays needed to service the 2160 fleet. With the hangars damaged and the specialized refueling infrastructure destroyed, Russia has no choice but to relocate the surviving bombers to a deep base in the Arctic Circle, and that is catastrophic. That base is 1,100 kilometers farther from operational launch zones. It adds 2,400 kilometers to every round-trip mission, which means increased engine wear. Engines have a limited lifespan, measured in flight hours. Arctic operations burn through engine hours twice as fast because of extreme cold start procedures and extended flight time. Russia's maintenance capacity, already overstretched, has just become a critical bottleneck. Payload capacity is reduced. To fly the extra distance, bombers must carry more fuel, cutting missile load by 30 to 40%. A 2160 that normally carries 12 missiles can now carry only 7 or 8. Strike power is cut by 1/3. Operational tempo is destroyed. The time needed to prepare, launch, execute, and recover from a strike mission has effectively doubled.